So we are finished with our first unit, and I think now you guys have a pretty comfortable grasp on how we do notes, assignments, quizzes, and exams in here. Like I said in my message earlier, for the most part, I'm really proud of how well you guys did on the test. I know some of you are not happy with your scores, but now I think you realize what goes into actually preparing for one of these exams. I mean, I'm not clueless and oblivious to the fact that I know several of you, and I won't say, okay, let me retract that. I won't say that any of you are doing this, but I know it's a possibility because I have seen it happen before. But on the homework, you Google it, you find the worksheet, and you just fill it out and you're done. That may or may not be happening, but I think when you do that, you are doing yourself a disservice because the quizzes and exams are not going to be the same way. So you need to make sure you understand this material. If you want to Google it, fine, Google it, but make sure that you understand how those answers come about, because that's when you take your quizzes and your tests, that's when it's going to come to light whether or not you're really doing this work and putting in the effort. But it's still early in the semester, so I'm not panicked yet. I'm not worried about anybody. We'll see how things go with this next unit. And you can see from the start of this next unit, it's going to be fairly straightforward. We're talking about lines and angles. So this is building on what we did previously. You may wonder why this says 3-1 and not 2-1. In the textbook that the state wants everybody to use for geometry, it focuses on Chapter 2, focuses on proofs and reasoning. And they've actually since taken that out of the curriculum, the required curriculum for geometry, so we skipped that chapter. I may actually come back to it later on, though, to help you guys develop a more mathematical sense of how to prove things, which will become useful if you take some more advanced math classes. With this set of notes today, we're looking at a kind of a review, and we're just going to determine whether these statements are true or false. And the first statement is you can name a plane by a capital letter such as A. Well, we've already seen that, and we know that to be true. A plane contains a finite number of lines. Now, finite means it's countable. It's a set of, it has a terminal point. And we know that a plane contains an infinite number of lines. There is no limit to the number of lines we can draw in a plane, so we know that this is false. 2 points that lie on the same plane are coplanar, and this is one of the terms that we kind of struggled with a little bit initially. Coplanar, if you imagine just a sheet of paper, if I put 2 dots on that sheet of paper, those 2 dots are coplanar. If I put a dot on one sheet of paper and a dot on another sheet of paper, they are not coplanar. So 2 points that lie on the same plane, they are certainly coplanar. And if 2 distinct planes intersect, then they intersect in exactly one line. That also is true. That's something else that we've covered quite a bit. Today we're going to introduce, it shouldn't be a new term, but it's parallel lines. Parallel lines, they never intersect. They go on infinitely in either direction and never cross one another. What I want to bring your attention to is over here to the right, where we have the symbol for parallel, is those 2 vertical lines. And we're going to see a lot of different symbols throughout this course, but that one's one that you'll see indicating that 2 lines are parallel. So using what we know about parallel lines, which should be pretty familiar to you already, we're going to answer these questions here on 5 through 9. Circle the segments that are parallel to the x-axis. So our x-axis runs horizontal. So that means that our parallel lines will also run left to right without ever intersecting the x-axis. And we can see right here in our diagram that these 2 lines, AB and DC, are parallel to the x-axis. So we have AB, BC is not, CD or DC, those are both the same, and then AD is not. Circle the segments that are parallel to the y-axis. So now we're looking vertically. So here's our y-axis, and that's going to give us these 2 lines, AD and BC. So AB is not, BC is, CD is not, and AD is. Circle the polygons that have 2 pairs of parallel sides. So a rectangle has 2 pairs of parallel sides. You probably heard the statement that all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. But rectangles all have parallel sides. A parallelogram has parallel sides, and we can imagine a parallelogram looking like this. A square we know to have two pairs of parallel sides. A trapezoid does not have two pairs of parallel sides. It will always only have one pair of parallel sides. Maybe you can imagine that shape right there as an example. We have these two sides are parallel, these two sides are not. Complete each statement below with the word line or segment. A blank consists of two endpoints and all the points in between. We know that is going to be a segment because lines do not have endpoints. Lines are infinite. They go on both directions infinitely. And then so that leaves number 9 to be a blank is made up of an infinite number of points. That would be a line. So our key concept right now is parallel and skew lines. Parallel lines are coplanar, so that's important. They are coplanar and they do not intersect. Skew lines are non-coplanar, so they cannot be in the same plane. They are not parallel and they do not intersect. Parallel lines, or parallel planes rather, are planes that do not intersect. So write each word or phrase or symbol in the correct oval. Parallel and skew are what we're looking at here. So parallel, they are coplanar from our definition. That's is and in, I promise. So they're coplanar. They do not intersect. If we look at AE, let's highlight this. AE is right here. And CG. Those two are going to be parallel. We also can they're part of two planes that are parallel, so they are parallel lines as well. So we can put AE and CG in here. And then we have CB, I'll do this in blue, and AE. Okay, so we can clearly see that, for one, they both don't go in the same direction, so they have to be skew. And we can move those over here to the skew segment. So we have CB and AE. And then the remaining terms will also fall under skew. They are non-coplanar. They intersect, and then we've already established that the lines CB and AE are skew. So identifying non-intersecting lines and planes, use the figure at the right, which segments are parallel to AD. So let's highlight AD. That is this front leading edge on the rectangular prism in plane ADHE. So that's this front plane right here on the figure, ADHE. Blank is parallel to AD. Well, we can see that it has to be this segment EH. Then we move over to plane ADBC. So let's highlight that one. ADBC. So that's going to be the top of this box, and that would have to be BC because that is opposite of AD, and it's the only one that is parallel to AD. And then finally we have plane ADGF. So we have ADGF. So that's this plane that kind of cuts from the top front leading edge down to the bottom back edge of this rectangular prism. So it's going to be at a slant. It cuts at an angle from top to bottom. And we see that that's going to be FG or GF, however you want to name it, is going to be parallel to AD. Explain, so now we're going to use some reasoning here. Explain why FE, so let's highlight FE, and CD are not skew. Cross out the words or phrases below that do not describe skew lines. One, skew lines are not coplanar. Remember, these are the words that do not describe skew lines. So skew lines do not intersect. Skew lines are not parallel. So these three terms right here do describe skew lines. Segments and rays can be skew if they lie in skew lines. Segments and rays are never skew. Well, segments and rays can be skew if they lie in a skew line. Underline the correct word to complete the sentence. FE and CD are in a plane, and you can see that right here, even though they're at the top and the bottom. Here's our plane that I'm kind of highlighting there in red. So it's another plane that goes at an angle through the prism. It slopes from the bottom left edge to the top right edge of the figure. Why are they not skew? Well, there's multiple answers that you could put on that, the chief among them being that they do not intersect. I've got to get this to work. There we go. They do not intersect. They are coplanar. Just because that plane was not explicitly given to us in the diagram, you see we can create that plane using the vertices F and E and the vertices C and D. So we were able to create the plane using those points. So that gives you an idea of what to look for when you're trying to determine whether lines are skew or not. Now we're going to go into using some lines to create angle pairs. And we're talking about angle pairs formed by transversals. A transversal is a line or a segment that crosses two other lines. Here we have some definitions. Alternate interior angles are non-adjacent interior angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. We have same side interior angles are interior angles that lie on the same side of the transversal. Corresponding angles lie on the same side of a transversal and in corresponding positions. Alternate exterior angles are non-adjacent exterior angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. Use the diagram above. Draw a line from each pair in column A to its description in column B. So we have angle 4 and angle 6. They are both on the interior side and they lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So those are alternate interior angles. Our next pair of angles are 3 and 6. They lie on the same side of the transversal. This is our transversal right here. They lie on the same side of that transversal and they are on the interior. So they are same side interior angles. Then we want to look at angle pairs 2 and 6. Same side of the transversal, and they are in corresponding positions. They're in the same position in relation to how they appear in this particular drawing. So 2 and 6 are corresponding angles. And then we have 2 and 8. They are both exterior angles. They lie on opposite sides of the transversal, so they are alternate exterior angles. Identifying angle pairs. What are 3 pairs of corresponding angles in the diagram at the right? Underline the correct word or letter to complete each sentence. The transversal is going to be the line M, N, or R. R is the only one that crosses two lines. So R is the transversal. Corresponding angles are on the same side or different sides of the transversal. If we go back up here and look at our definition, corresponding angles lie on the same side of a transversal and in corresponding positions. So corresponding angles are on the same side of the transversal. Name 3 pairs of corresponding angles. So here's our transversal. One pair would be 1, 3. They lie on the same side and in corresponding positions. We could also go with 8, 6. 7, 5. 2, 4. I know that says name 3 pairs, but that's actually 4 pairs. It's interesting. Problem number 3, classifying an angle pair. Are angles 1 and 3 alternate interior, same side interior, corresponding, or alternate exterior? Are 1 and 3 on the same side of the transversal? First of all, here's our transversal. Then we look at angles 1 and 3 and we see that they are on the same side of the transversal. So cross out the angle types that do not describe angles 1 and 3. Alternate exterior. Angle 3 is this is the interior of the angle, so they are not alternate exterior. Angle 1 is in the exterior of the diagram, so it's not alternate interior. They are corresponding because they're on the same side of the transversal and they're in the same position relative to their 2 lines. The other one is same side interior, and we can cross that one out because angle 1 is on the exterior. So angle 1 and 3 are corresponding angles. And then finally we'll do our lesson checks here real quick, and then we'll be done with this set of notes. Name 1 pair of each of the segments or planes. So parallel segments, we have AB. So what would be parallel to AB? We can just pick any segment that's parallel. It could be HG, DC. I'm just going to go with EF. Skew segments, we have HD. So a skew segment is non-coplanar, so we'll go with EF again. And parallel planes, AB, CD, that's the bottom of this rectangular prism, so we'll use the top as a parallel plane, which is going to be EFGH. Name 1 pair each of the angles. Alternate interior, we have angle 8, and then the alternate interior angle to that, so it has to be on the opposite side of the transversal, is angle 6. Same side interior, we have angle 8 and angle 3. They both have to be on the interior and on the same side of the transversal. And corresponding angle, angle 1 and angle 3. They have to be in the same position relative to their respective lines that the transversal crosses. 34, alternate exterior, we have angle 7. It's on the exterior of the 2 lines that the transversal crosses, along with angle 5. It has to be on the opposite side of the transversal. All right, let's see what we're talking about here. We're talking about our friends Carly and Juan. They examine the figure at the right. Carly says that AB is parallel to HG. Juan says that AB and HG are skew. Who is correct? Can you explain? So parallel segments are coplanar. We know that to be true. There are only 6 planes in a cube. There are 6 exterior planes. That's what we can visually see. So that actually is false, because we can draw this plane that goes through that cube from top to bottom. No plane contains AB and HG. Well, we just drew that in there, so we know that's going to be false. So we know that Carly is correct, and that's simply because the planes do not have to be just the sides of the figure. They're planes that can be drawn through the figure as long as we utilize the vertices that we're provided with. So I hope that this first set of notes in this new unit will get you guys going. For those of you that are trying to get your grade up, right now is the time to start. So get these assignments in, and make sure you're studying them and understanding what we're doing so that you can be more successful on our quizzes and tests. I will be talking to you guys very soon.